The rain fell in sheets, turning the cobblestone platform into a slick mirror under the dim torchlight. Leora clutched her cloak around her trembling shoulders, glancing at the royal train that hissed like a living beast. Her orders were clear: deliver the sealed council letters, avoid notice, stay invisible. But tonight, fate had other plans. She ran, boots splashing through puddles, heart hammering, and leapt into the first carriage with an empty interior. Relief hit, fleeting, until the warmth, the scent, the power hit her like a tidal wave. Her wolf howled inside her chest. Gold eyes lifted from the shadows. Broad shoulders, black armor etched with silver runes, and a crown resting casually in one hand. Cale Draven, the Alpha King himself, stood there, and the doors slammed shut behind her with a deafening click. "You're not leaving," he said, voice calm yet charged with danger, and the air vibrated with dominance that made her pulse skip. She had stepped into the wrong carriage, into his world, into a storm of desire, power, and secrets she wasn't ready for. And yet she couldn't resist the pull, the bond that awakened the instant their gazes met. Somewhere deep in her chest, a wolf she didn't fully understand whispered, "This is it. This is the moment that changes everything." The wrong carriage, the night smelled of iron and rain. Leora pulled her cloak tighter as the royal train hissed at the platform, its black metal body gleaming under torchlight like a sleeping beast. The Alpha King's convoy had arrived late, too late, and panic rippled through the crowd of nobles, messengers, and servants scrambling for shelter before the storm broke. "Carriage 7, the guard barked." Leora nodded quickly. Her hands were shaking not from the cold, but from fear. She wasn't meant to be here. She was only a courier, a half, blood with no pack name, delivering sealed letters for the council. In and out, invisible, that was the rule. Thunder cracked. She ran. Boots splashed against wet stone as she leapt into the nearest open carriage, breath tearing from her chest. The door slammed shut behind her with a heavy thud. Darkness swallowed her whole. Only then did she realize this carriage was warm. Too warm. Gold sigils faintly glowed along the walls. The air hummed, thick with power, with dominance so sharp it made her wolf whimper and bow inside her ribs. Slowly, painfully, a scent wrapped around her. Pine smoke, blood, winter alpha. Her heart stopped. A single lantern flared to life. He sat across from her, tall, broad, shouldered, dressed in black armor traced with silver runes. His crown rested casually in one gloved hand, as if power itself bored him. His eyes burning, ancient gold, lifted to meet hers. The Alpha King, Cale Draven, the doors locked with a final, echoing click. Leora scrambled backward, hitting the wall. I'm sorry. I took the wrong carriage. I'll leave, please." Cale rose slowly. Every movement was controlled, predatory. The carriage seemed to shrink around him. "You ran into my carriage," he said softly, "during a storm, during a coup-filled night, carrying council seals." Her blood turned to ice. He reached out, not touching her, but close enough that her skin burned. "And now?" Cale murmured, eyes darkening as her scent hit him fully, violently. "Wrong and right at the same time. You're not leaving." The train lurched forward, and Leora's fate sealed itself shut with the doors. The scent of a mate. The carriage moved, not gently. Steel wheels screamed against the tracks as the Alpha King's private train surged forward, faster than any royal transport had a right to. The lantern swayed, casting fractured shadows across the walls, and across him Leora's knees weakened. She could feel it now, the pull, a deep, bone-aching gravity dragging her wolf toward his. Her breath came uneven, her senses sharpening against her will. No, this is impossible." Cale Draven watched her like a storm held behind iron bars. "You're shaking," he observed, voice calm, too calm. "Fear, yes," she whispered honestly. Lying to an alpha like him was suicide. His lips twitched, not a smile. "Something darker, good. That means you understand the danger you're in." She swallowed. "I didn't know it was your carriage. I swear, I'm just a courier, a nobody." He stepped closer. The space between them burned. Nobodies don't smell like this. Her heart slammed. Smell like what? Cale inhaled slowly, deeply. The air asterisk vibrated asterisk. The sigils on the walls flared brighter, reacting to his rising dominance, like a bond that should not exist. Leora's wolf surged, clawing at her chest. Heat rushed through her veins, a wild, desperate need curling low in her belly. She turned her face away, ashamed. "I'm not unmated," she said quickly. "I swear I don't belong to anyone." His eyes flashed. "That," he growled, "is not what I asked." The train plunged into a tunnel. Darkness swallowed them whole. For one terrifying second, the power between them snapped raw, uncontrolled. Cale moved in a blur. He braced one hand against the wall beside her head, caging her in without touching. His breath brushed her ear. "You stepped into the wrong place at the wrong time," he said, voice rough now. "Because if my instincts are right," his fingers twitched, barely restraining himself, "you're my mate." Her world shattered. "That's impossible," she breathed. "I'm half blood. The bond rejects people like me." "Not this one," Cale said. The train burst from the tunnel. Light returned. Leora looked up at him, tears burning her eyes. "Then why lock the doors?" His jaw clenched. "Because if I let you walk away," he said quietly, dangerously, "I will hunt you." Silence crashed between them. Outside, the storm howled louder, as if the world itself had sensed the bond awaken. Chains of power, the silence between them grew heavy, thick enough to choke. Leora pressed her back harder against the carriage wall, her pulse racing so loudly she was sure Cale could hear it. An alpha king didn't hunt unless he intended to claim, and a mate bond, one whispered about in forbidden texts, one that never formed with a half, blood like her. Yet her wolf knew the truth. It bowed. Cale stepped back abruptly, turning away as if proximity itself was a threat. He dragged a hand through his dark hair, crown clinking softly as he set it on the seat. "This cannot happen," he muttered, not to her but to himself. Hope flickered in her chest. "Then let me go at the next station. I'll disappear. You'll never see me again." He laughed once, low, bitter. "If it were that simple, the gods wouldn't be cruel enough to bind us." The sigils on the carriage flared again, reacting to his agitation. The doors groaned, metal tightening like clenched teeth. "You don't understand," Cale continued, voice edged with iron. "If the council learns I've found a mate, especially one with no pack, no lineage, they'll call it weakness. They'll use you against me." Her breath hitched. "Then why keep me?" Cale turned. His eyes glowed brighter now, gold bleeding into molten amber. "Because every instinct in me screams that if I let you leave," he said, stepping closer, "you will be dead before dawn." A sudden asterisk boom asterisk rocked the carriage. The train lurched violently. Leora cried out as she lost her footing. Cale caught her. Strong arms locked around her waist, pulling her against his chest. Heat exploded between them, wild and uncontrollable. Her palms pressed instinctively to his armor. Her body fitting against his like it had been carved for him. Time slowed. The bond snapped into place, pain sharp and searing shot through her shoulder, followed by a rush of warmth so intense she gasped. Cale froze, breath shuddering. "No," he whispered. Leora felt it too. A mark burned into her skin, unseen but undeniable. A thread tied her soul to his, humming with power. Cale's grip tightened. The bond just completed. Fear and awe tangled in her chest. What does that mean? His forehead rested briefly against hers, restraint shattering piece by piece. "It means," he said hoarsely, "the alpha king of all wolves is now bound to a woman the world is forbidden to know exists." Outside, distant howls echoed through the storm. Enemies were already moving, and the train was no longer just carrying them forward. It was carrying them toward war. When enemies smell blood, the howl came again, closer this time. Leora stiffened in Cale's arms as the sound slid through the iron walls of the carriage like a blade. Her newly awakened bond flared, every nerve alive, every instinct screaming danger. "Trackers," Cale said under his breath. He released her slowly, as if afraid sudden movement might shatter the fragile control he was clinging to. His eyes burned brighter now, the alpha fully awake. "How can they find us?" Leora asked, panic rising. "This is your private train." Cale's jaw tightened because the bond just announced itself to the world. The carriage lights dimmed. Sigils shifted, forming defensive patterns along the walls. Outside, shadows ran alongside the train. Fast, inhuman. "They smelled you," he continued. "A fresh mate bond, unclaimed, unprotected." Her throat went dry. Unprotected, Cale stepped in front of her without thinking, his body a living shield, not for long. A violent impact slammed into the side of the carriage. Metal shrieked. Leora screamed as the floor tilted. Cale braced himself, one hand gripping a silver pole, the other stretching back toward her. "Stay behind me, do not move unless I tell you." The roof exploded, moonlight poured in as clawed figures dropped down. Rogue wolves, their eyes red with hunger and ambition. No pack marks, assassins for the council. One snarled, "The Alpha's mate dies tonight." Before Leora could breathe, Cale shifted. Bone cracked, power erupted. In a heartbeat, the man was gone, replaced by a massive black wolf streaked with silver, eyes glowing like twin suns. The carriage became a battlefield. Cale tore through them with terrifying precision, snapping jaws, flying bodies, blood painting the walls. Yet for every rogue that fell, another leapt in. One slipped past him, straight toward her. Fear paralyzed Leora, until something deep inside her answered. Her wolf rose. She didn't know how she did it. She only knew she had to with a cry that ripped from her soul. Leora thrust her hand forward. Light, pale, and ancient burst from her palm, slamming into the attacker and throwing him clear out of the carriage. Silence fell. Cale turned slowly, human again, breathing hard, eyes locked on her with something between awe and terror. "What are you?" he asked. Leora stared at her trembling hands glowing faintly. "I don't know," she whispered. Far ahead, the train screamed toward the capital. And now Cale understood the truth. He hadn't just bonded to a half blood. He had bonded to something the world had buried for centuries. Secrets between shadows. The carriage was quiet now, but the tension hung thick, a living thing between them. Cale sank onto the bench, chest heaving, eyes still blazing gold. And for a moment, Leora thought he might collapse. "You," he said finally, his voice low, "you just saved my life." Leora's hands shook. I didn't mean to. You didn't mean to." He repeated sharply, but the edge softened almost immediately. "You did, and that is what matters. You have power more than any human or wolf I've ever encountered." Her heart thudded painfully. "I don't understand it. I've never felt this before." Cale leaned forward, elbows resting on his knees, eyes scanning her like he could read her very bones. "You're a hybrid," he said slowly, as though tasting the word. "Not just a half-blood. There's something ancient in your veins, something wild, untamed. That's why the bond reacted the way it did. That's why the council fears you, even if they don't know it yet." Leora's breath hitched. "The council, they wanted me." Cale's jaw tightened. "Not just wanted you. They wanted to control you, to use your power for their own ends. That is why you were alone tonight, why the rogue wolves found you so quickly. They've been tracking you since birth." A cold dread wrapped around Leora's chest. "And if I run?" Cale's gaze dropped to hers, fierce and unwavering. "There is nowhere to run. The bond is real. It has tied your life to mine. You belong to me now, whether you want it or not." Her stomach lurched at his words, equal parts fear and something deeper, something she couldn't name. His nearness, his heat, the way the carriage hummed under his power. It called to her wolf in a way she had never experienced. Cale's hand hovered near hers. Slowly, deliberately, he brushed a strand of wet hair from her face. His touch sent a jolt through her nerves, and he said quietly, "I don't intend to let anyone harm you, not the council, not rogue wolves, not even yourself if you try to fight this bond." Leora's mind spun. Every instinct screamed at her to resist, to flee. But another part, the part tied to him, to the unbroken threads of the bond, whispered in shivers through her body, "Stay." The train roared into the night, carving through storm clouds and shadowed valleys. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating Cale's face in silver brilliance. His eyes, molten and commanding, held her captive, yet also protective. A storm was coming, Leora realized. One that would not just shake the world outside the carriage, but the world inside her as well. She shivered, and Cale caught her by the shoulders, pulling her close enough that the warmth of his chest pressed into hers. "You are mine," he whispered, voice low and heavy with promise, "and I will never let you go." Her pulse raced. Her wolf ached, and in that instant, Leora understood. She had no choice but to surrender to the storm. Outside, distant howls marked the beginning of war. Inside, a bond that neither of them could control yet now ruled them both.